Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Always Believing God, where we encourage you to keep and maintain your faith through life's greatest challenges. Today, we're going to talk about life after death. It is something that many people wonder about, and there's been no real conclusive finding. However, today we are going to share a story about Pastor Chris,
Well,
his testimony related to life after death. So, Pastor Chris, this is a question for you. It's about your salvation testimony.
yes.
And I want to hear a little bit about your religious background, how you were brought up.
Well, I was brought up in the church. I was born into the Seventh Day Church of God. I was brought up as a Sabbath keeper. Um, that's keeping the Sabbath from Friday night sunset to Saturday night sunset. That 24-hour period, we don't do any work, and we spend it with worship and in family time. And when I was growing up, we would spend literally all day in church. And fortunately, we don't do that anymore. But that's pretty much how I was brought up.
So, because I know the story, you were brought up as a pastor's kid, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so that influenced how your religious background and how you were brought up on keeping the Sabbath.
correct.
Much different from just someone who just went to church. I guess I just wanted to highlight that.
Right. As a pastor's kid, you're kind of expected to be more righteous than you really want to be. So, I was living a very pretentious lifestyle.
And we have children that are pastors' kids right now, and
Oh yeah,
trust me, they complain about growing up as pastors' kids.
yeah.
But we try to work with them. But nonetheless, this your salvation story is part of our how God redeemed our marriage.
Yes.
But that is a very, very long story. So we're going to save that for another time. And we're going to focus specifically on your salvation story.
Okay.
So at the time, we were separated.
Hmm.
And this is when God really was able to speak to you. So give a little bit background. Why were we separated? I think we were separated for about at least a month. I was living at my brother's house in Fort Lauderdale, and he was living at his brother's house in South Miami.
Yeah. So why were we separated? We were
And
separated because you really got saved, and I was still just a churchgoer. I wanted to go to church, but still live in the world, and it just caused conflict in the marriage. So we separated. I was with my brother, as you said, in Miami, and you were with your brother in Fort Lauderdale, and things were just not working out, and I thought we were heading to divorce at that time.
yeah, at this
Yeah.
time, we were actually heading to divorce. I was actually, we were trying to prepare for a meeting where we were going to sit down. We didn't have any children and talk about how we were going to divide our assets and go forward.
Right.
So, share a little bit about the life you were living at that time.
Well, at that time, I was partying. Spent a lot of time on South Beach with friends. I would go to church, and then as soon as church was over, I would hit Deco Drive, or I'd hit the beach and just go to the clubs and do the parties, and just meeting people and doing crazy things.
And I was praying at the time,
Mhm.
praying for my marriage, praying for his salvation. I had gotten to a place where it really wasn't about the marriage, it was more about his salvation. So I had told God, whatever you want, I surrender to your will, but I'm going to pray for his soul salvation in the meantime. That was part of the change for me personally. But at this point, he's coming from the south to the north to meet me to have this discussion at my brother's house.
Mm.
And what happened, Pastor Chris?
Okay, so it's like life after death, right? So we were, I was driving from my brother's house north on the turnpike to just talk about how we were going to split everything up. And I know you had been praying at the time, but I had pretty much had my mind made up that I didn't want to live in the church or do anything like that anymore. I just wanted to live my life. So I'm driving north on the turnpike, and there's a grass median in between that separates northbound traffic from southbound traffic. And something happened where a car that was going southbound all of a sudden just came across the median, and I'm going northbound, and it just actually just went right in front of my car. I was just able to hit the brakes, and the cars beside me were able to hit the brakes, and the car went over into the canal on the east side, on the right side, and it just went into this canal. And if you know anything about Florida roads and canals, those canals on the side of highways are quite deep, so about 30 feet deep. And this couple just went into the canal, and everyone just pulled over.
Okay, so let me make sure that I
Okay.
clarify.
Yeah.
So you're going northbound on the turnpike.
Yes.
There's a median between the southbound
A
and the
grass
northbound,
median.
a grass median,
Yes.
pretty wide one
Very
from what I
wide one.
recall.
Yes. Yes.
And there's this car that comes from the southbound traffic, goes across the median.
Right, and across
The front of-
northbound traffic, it crosses the median, crosses northbound traffic, and goes into the canal
right in front of you
right in front of me
while you're driving.
while I'm driving. Yes.
Okay, and then you.
And then so I, along with everyone else, we pull over. I remember there were some young guys that just jumped in the water, trying to see if they can see the car or rescue anyone, but they said it was too dark, too murky. There's several people in there swimming around, and of course people call 911. So not long after that, a helicopter comes down and it lands in the middle of the turnpike. Of course, it stops traffic both ways. A cop car comes. This is the funny part, or the crazy part about it. Cop cars come. Where I was parked, one came in front of me and backed up in front of my car, so I couldn't go forward. Then another cop car came behind me and went behind my car, and the ambulance stopped to my driver's side. So I was kind of boxed in. I couldn't get out.
And the canal is on your
And
right
the canal
side.
is on my right side. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So you're okay.
Now there were several police, but just the way these particular first responders stopped, they stopped in a way where I was boxed in. I don't think it was intentional, but that's just how it happened.
No one else was in this situation.
No one else was
your
in this
vehicle
situation.
was
Exactly,
boxed in.
exactly.
So then what happened? What was significant about the fact that you were boxed in?
So I remember when the helicopter came and the rescue came, there was some rescue divers that came. They had been down there maybe about 10 or 15 minutes. And the divers, they went down, and I remember they pulled up the woman first. They pulled her up, and she was just, you can tell she was gone. She was completely bloated. They put her on the gurney. The guys from the helicopter, the rescue guys from the helicopter was just doing CPR on her, and they put her in the helicopter and they flew away.
So you had just like a first-hand experience of everything. I mean, up close and personally seeing this whole event.
Yes. And then maybe about a few minutes later, maybe about 3 to 5 minutes later, they pull up the man, which I'm assuming is her husband, and they pull him up, and he was gone, and they laid the body on the right side of my car. So the
husband was already deceased.
Yeah, the husband was already. I'm not laughing that he was deceased, but just how odd it was that they put the body on the right side of my car,
alongside the canal.
Alongside there's another grass median before the actual canal. They didn't put him right beside the car, but he was on the right side of the car, and they covered him with the yellow plastic.
Okay. And then what happened with this yellow plastic?
So what happened was, what is so odd about this? Remember, I said I was driving to we were driving to meet each other to talk about how we were going to separate,
and I had no clue all of this was occurring. I was just at my brother's house anticipating him to come so we can just say, okay, it's done, we're done.
I know this sounds like complete fiction, but truth is stranger than fiction sometimes. So I remember when they put the body there and they covered it up with the yellow covering. The wind kept blowing and blowing up the side of where his head was, and I could see
the yellow plastic.
Yes, the yellow covering. I think it was plastic, and I kept seeing his face. I kept seeing this dead man's face. And then I began to hear voices in my head. Like I began to hear the voice of God in my head. I don't know if anyone ever experienced God talking to him, talking to you, but when God talks to you, it's not audible, but you can literally hear him speaking to your mind.
Yeah.
I don't, you would have to have that experience to know what I'm talking about. So I hear God speaking in my mind and telling me, and the voice kept saying to me, you're going to leave your wife. I have a calling on your life. This is not what I want for you. And he kept telling me to look down and look at the man, and
To look at the body.
to look at the body. And every time I would look down, the wind would blow where the tarp would lift up, and I can see his face. Every time the voice told me to look down, the wind would blow where I could see his face. And every time I looked down and saw this dead man's face, I heard the voice say to me, I've given you free will. But if you continue to go in this direction, this will be you in 1 year. This will be you in 1 year. So I thought I was just going crazy.
Right.
So I asked the police officer. I never forget, it was a black female police officer. They were always mean to me. So, but shout out to the police. I don't know why they're always mean to me. And I remember she was very rude, very condescending to me, and told me something to the effect, I'm not first responder, and if I was minding my business, I wouldn't be stuck in this situation. So I'm just going to sit there until they finish their investigation.
Because I'm at the house waiting, and I heard the story afterwards, and
Yes.
this is what stuck out to me as he continues to share.
So I remember I was stuck there for it had to be an hour and a half or 2 hours. It was a long time. I don't want to exaggerate the time, but this wind kept blowing and this voice kept speaking to me and telling me that I needed to go back and to make it right with my wife. And this is his will, and this is the direction that he wanted for me. So I said to the police officer, I remember asking, because I felt like I was going nuts. I said, can you at least put something like a rock or something on the tarp or on the covering so that the wind wouldn't blow it up?
So you wouldn't have to see the
Right.
body.
And they did oblige and put something there, but it's might as well they not put anything there, because it was like nothing was there. They actually put something heavy on it, and the wind, when it came, it just blew it up like it wasn't even there.
So do you think that the
That was
act of
God. It was like, that was like God just kicked it to the side. I mean, I don't know how that happened. It was just a soft, gentle breeze, but it was like that rock wasn't even there, and it blew it up again. And I heard this voice saying to me, it kept repeating, this will be you within 1 year. And, it was the death of our marriage, but miraculously, God breathed life back into it by using a dead man. Now, I am very sorry about what happened to that couple. It was an older couple. I don't know if it was a seizure or a heart attack that caused him to come across the median and go into the canal. But God used that death to bring life back to me.
And what happened when you actually came to the house and we talked?
I just remember coming in and just basically falling on my knees and crying. And I know you were like, what's wrong with this guy? What happened? We were just supposed to break up. But I just remember asking for forgiveness and telling you the story and telling you what God said. And our marriage was dead. And from then to now, here we are.
Yes.
Not that things have been perfect. We still have challenges, but after God spoke to me that things were very different in our relationship. You can run from God, but you'll just be more tired when he catches up to you.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. So remember, this is Pastor Chris's salvation story, which started really the redemption of our marriage. And there's a whole lot more to this story. But I appreciate you for listening to his salvation testimony, because that was a very pivotal moment in our lives.
It was a miracle.
It was. God bless you all.
God bless you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.